Good day, good day. Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Jay, and this is Homeschool Yo Kids podcast. Before we get started, make sure you check out homeschoolyourkidsexpo.com. Check out our traveling schedule as well as the other cool resources that we have available on our website. And remember that homeschooling is something that is not meant to be done alone. So, special shout out to a couple of our sponsors that are mission to ensure that you are supported. So, Classical Conversations is a nationwide curriculum provider. They're everywhere, literally. And they not only provide curriculum, but they also provide community support with co-ops and all that good stuff in your area. And also Base Camp. Base Camp is a new app that just launched in February. It is a free to download app. So download it and check it out because it just provides different community resources as well as families that you can connect with and build with. So today we have with us Sylvia and Marissa. Introduce yourself, ladies.
Hi, yes, my name is Marissa, and I am a co-partner with Mindful Kids.
Hello, I am Sylvia, and I'm from Texas, and I also work with Mindful Kids.
All right. So, how do we get our journey to mindful kids? And do you want to share, or can you share? Because, of course, you want to share. That's why you're here. But can you share what mindful kids is?
Marissa?
Sure. So, Mindful Kids, we are an after-school enrichment program. Our program seeks to provide children and families with opportunities, that will engage their give them exposure to a variety of enrichment classes. So some of those enrichment classes, those are in addition to their core classes, extracurricular activities such as, music, chess, dance, tap, ballet, robotics, sports. We have a variety of enrichment classes that we can offer to provide to children, in addition to after their core classes are done and they want to kind of explore their other passions in life, things that are fun and exciting.
Yes, fun stuff.
So I'll add to that as well. And the neat thing about these programs, these enrichment classes that we can set them up either in the school for children that are enrolled in public schools or private schooling, and homeschooling. And for homeschooling, we will send the instructor to wherever the co-ops meet. So it would be a collaborative effort between the homeschoolers, the leaders of the homeschooling in whatever area they're in within their co-ops, and a collaboration with us. And so we're just ready to go. We're ready to be there. We're ready to offer whatever the children want. The children are the most important of all. We can't and expose children into, for example, I want you to play the violin, me, the mom. The child doesn't want to learn the violin. They want to do something else. So we want the child to be invested in whatever it is that they're going to spend their time on. So that's really important to be mindful of the children's interests at all times.
I like that. Mindful.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. Mindful.
Yes. So, how do you ladies get on this mission? How did you say, like, you know what? These kids need programs, enrichment programs, fun programs. How do we get here?
Marissa?
Yeah, why don't you begin? Because you can give a little bit more of the background journey, and then I'll, enter where I picked up with you.
Good idea. Thank you. So I, as a child, it all comes from our own personal experiences. That's how we build on our passion. So I, as a child, just discovered that I loved cooking and that I loved sewing and that I loved viewing art and learning about different artists. I loved music. And how did I learn that? By going to a community center in the summertime that offered a variety of classes for children in the community. And so when my parents signed me up for that during the summer, it's where I discovered, oh, wow, I really like cooking. No wonder my mother enjoys cooking. I'm going to take after her, And with sewing, my grandmother would come from Mexico and would teach me how to make little dresses for my dolls. And so I learned that I really loved sewing. So as I grew up, right through elementary school, when I reached middle school, my father buys me a sewing machine, a really elaborate sewing machine at the time. And then he had me sewing all summer long, my entire wardrobe for school. And I did that
Nice.
through middle school and high school. So it was a passion of mine. The funny thing is, while I sewed, and I'll speak a little bit about myself and then I won't anymore. While I was sewing, I remember, there's a pattern, right? That, that the feeder that you feed the garment through, or the fabric, it's pecking, 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 pecking. And weirdly, I kind of like created music in my head to that, So again, I'm like, oh, I like music too. So that is where the discovery comes in, that you exposed your child to anything. And that's how your child is going to discover what he or she is really interested in. And so that was me. Um, so so that's where it all began with me as a child. And so then I grew up, graduated in the field of education, became an educator, a school teacher. And while I was a school teacher in the school, I created all kinds. Well, I created a program. I built on an existing program, which was very small at that school. And I just had all these ideas because, again, it was coming from me as a child. And so we just went away with it, a group of parents and myself, and we just went away with it. And we just, okay, let's offer, dance of all kinds. Let's offer sports of all kinds. Let's offer the visual arts of all types, and, et cetera, et cetera. So we built on that. And the program, became very, very big. The interest was always there. Parents were always excited. Their children just loved it. So that's how I started. And my niece Marissa, I'm going to let her continue because she was a part of it too as a child. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Originally, years back, we always talked about her program, and of course, me growing up in the program, I was very familiar with the process and the benefits that it had. So, years ago, my educational background is in criminal justice, and so my career path led me to working with children and families in foster care, or that were about to enter foster care. So I've always had a passion for children and families, and helping families connect to resources that they may need, or maybe that they don't know about, or they don't know that they need, and they just don't know they're out there. So, it was always really important for me to be aware of the family's needs and be attentive to their individual circumstances and what their goals were to be successful. And, many children that participate in extracurricular activities, enrichment programs, they have, such confidence and just, leadership skills, and they develop, just additional skills that are, that maybe aren't as nourished in the core classes, just because they get that creative side and they get to explore new things about themselves. And so, I later partnered, together to, build Mindful Kids. And, for years we spoke about what that would look like together. And so, I grew up participating in the after school program when I was a child. And so I was able to participate in cooking and gymnastics and arts and crafts. And so those are still some of the things that I love now. And, I'm, about to turn 40. So here we are years later, and I know how well the program works. And I would love to, we love to encourage that with other kids, other children, and my children. And so, we just evolved to what it is now.
Nice. I love that. Sylvia, big shout out to your dad who made that investment, girl. He bought you a sewing machine to make his, he said, here, go ahead and sew them clothes. I love that. And
Real.
right? That is so awesome though, because enrichment activities are very important and they're not as prominent in schools as they once were.
Very,
So,
very true. Very true. I mean, as a result, once I started middle school, as I said, my dad bought me the sewing machine, kept me busy there with it was serious stuff, and then of course I took up cooking in school, although I knew a little bit of cooking because of my mother. But when I took the cooking class, then I learned, oh, you're supposed to measure, so much for this and this. So we would bake small things, little cupcakes, cookies, even a little cake, together as a group in the middle school. I had a good teacher. That has a lot to do with it, right? Your teacher has to be invested in it and enjoy children, first of all, and enjoy the actual subject matter, So I was very blessed with that in middle school. And I took 2 years of cooking, and I took a whole year of sewing, I think it was. But that's where I learned the real mechanics of sewing, which is why it's so important to offer these programs, because then it's in a more, even though we want our children to feel free to create and to be creative, there still needs to be a formality, a structure, and how do you learn to cook? How do you learn to play the piano? There's that theory behind piano, and so you've got to. It's not just sitting there, you've got to learn the whole setup of it, right?
Yeah.
You've got to have people that are experienced, that have teaching, that have the teaching skills. It's about the teaching skill, knowing how to teach the child. And once you have that, you bring that into your child's world, then you're doing it right. You have to take it serious. As a parent, you have to take that enrichment activity as a serious thing, so that your child can feel free to create, right?
Indeed, indeed. I just know, like, now with middle school and high school, they have the kids focused on foreign language and, getting college credits. So it's not like, because I just remember in middle school, I don't know if you had it, Marissa or Sylvia, you could have had it during your time too, but I remember seeing the kids in Teen Living, and they had those sugar babies, and it's basically they created a baby out of sugar, like a, what, 5 pound, 4 pound, however much the bag of sugar weighs. But either way, it was like your baby to take care of, and it's like a project. And I couldn't wait to do that. I can't wait till I take that class. But I only took 1 year of teen living, because by 8th grade, they were telling me, oh, you need to take a foreign language. If you're going to college, you need to get this credit, you need to get that. So teen living in 7th was my last time like experiencing like fun electives, basically. After that, I did German 8th grade, I did Spanish 9th, 10th, and 11th, and then I was gone by 12th. It was like, but it was just knowing that you have these resources, or knowing that you're able to do these enrichment activities, is a big deal, because school is already boring enough. Like, you have fun at some point. And it's like, when do I get to explore me and the things that I'm really passionate about?
Yes. Oh, goodness. It's so important. So important to have that time. And so we as parents, it's a responsibility, and we owe it to our children to allow them to expand creatively. We owe it to them. And so we have to set aside time for that. Yes, they get a lot out of being on their tablet. They learn some things. You can put them on a YouTube, and you can find a good piano instruction on there. It's not the same thing as being next to your piano instructor, guiding you and showing you the way, that hands-on right there. Yes, we as parents, we have a responsibility to our children to expose them to fun and creative activities. And of course, find the right programs for them, with instructors that are qualified and are professionals in whatever field it is. Definitely.
Indeed.
Yes.
Yes, my girls. I just think about all the things they've already like gone through, as far as like, oh, I want to do this, or I want to do that. I have a little chef. I have someone who likes to dance. Well, they both like to dance. I have a gymnast. My oldest, she's done crocheting. She's had 2 sewing machines, not the industrial one you had, Sylvia, but some basic.
Yeah, mine was pretty.
Right.
Cute. Yes, no, I
Yes.
do.
They were just gifted violins while we were in Detroit. And so they got violins now in the RV and they like to go practice in the parking lot. Freestyle, of course. Like I had them sit down and watch a YouTube video, Sylvia, but they want to freestyle everything. Like it's like, oh, we got this song. They were talking about performing at the expos already. And I'm like, yo, chill.
Oh,
Like,
that's wonderful. They can come to our booth. They can come to our booth with a violin. I love that.
I'm gonna tell them you invited them, okay?
Yes,
I will let them
I
know.
love that. Great idea.
Yes.
We have to involve children in our booth. Marissa, keep that in mind. I love
Oh,
that.
yes, my son would love to be part of that as well.
Nice. What did your son like? What is he into?
Oh, oh goodness, he loves lots of things. He loves writing, he loves art, drawing. He's in a dual fine arts program, and so they, expose them to a whole bunch of, instruments and music theory and theater, and he's really into sports, and he, as a child, he really loved to create books, and so he would write the story, and he would just fold paper and create a story, and then have photo, he would draw pictures and color them in, and he still does that to this day, but now he's evolved a little bit with doing more things online with creating like animations, like those flip books.
Nice.
And so he's really into those. So it's like a whole, he really invests a lot of his time into that. But he's into jujitsu. He's just kind of, we like to expose him to lots of different things just so he can find, what he loves and what he wants to stick with. And just like you said, if they don't like it, they're not going to go. So you want to, that's why, part of our program is providing parents and them sharing with their children surveys of what it is they might be interested in, and then leave it to us to customize, what kind of platform they want to, to expose them to. And so if you have, several families or co-ops or, we can put that package together for you and just, put it exactly how you want it. If you want to customize it with, mixed martial arts and sports on certain days, or, so it's really important to us to customize to what they want. Yeah, nice. We really want them to enjoy it while they're there.
Yes. Imagine how boring it would be if all you had to focus on was academics, like just the basic subjects of, the reading and writing and all those, like, oh my gosh. Like, when do I get to be me? Or when do get to have fun?
Oh, well,
or figure me out. Like,
exactly. And again, it is our responsibility as parents to expose our children to find those avenues. I'm going to piggyback a little bit off of Marissa, her son. Oh my gosh, he's such a creator. And I look at him not only just as my great nephew, right? But I look at him as a teacher from that perspective, and I'm always amazed. He carries his little paper that he pulls in half, and we're at the restaurant ordering, and he's just writing. I'm like, wow,
that is passion.
Yes, writing. And then he does his own drawings, and then he puts all of that into his stories on the computer to create animation. And he's got his friends that are the characters of it. He's got his little, I am like,
right.
He's doing this for how many, yes, and he's been doing this for how long, Marissa, now?
Mm-hmm. Oh, he started, so he was a COVID child. In kinder, he never went back for, the rest of the year in first grade. So he was home, when he started then, he just found ways to entertain, while we were home for COVID and I was working, and he just would start, began his own creativity. Mommy, I'm going to try to write a book. And it started 1 or 2 pages, and then it evolved to, 9 pages front and back, and it's gotten bigger since then. So he loves creating. He was 5.5, 6 when he started. He's 11 now. So
isn't that amazing? Really, for me to witness it, I feel it to be a privilege. To witness that, honestly,
right? Yes.
It's amazing. As teachers, as you know, we teach in the classroom, but we're teaching mathematics, reading, spelling, the language arts, geography, all of these essential subjects that, yes, our children must know. They have to know all of this, absolutely. But then they go home and we don't get to see what goes on after that. So I say it's a privilege because when I do see, her son, I am just like, wow, and what comes out of his brain into writing is just, it's truly amazing. I mean, from the beginning, I told her, your child, he is definitely gifted. Of course, all children are gifted, but that is his gift, and it's to see him doing it and passionately, as you said. Yes.
And Marissa, I'm gonna need you to bring him to the expo so that the girls, because when I tell you, I tell my 11-year-old all the time that she needs to write books because of her lovely imagination that she story tells with. Like she orally tells these stories. I say, yo, you need to write books because your imagination is like bar none. But she hasn't, and she won't. So. And your son, tell him to bring some material so he could show her and get her to write.
Very good. Well, I'm going to elaborate one more thing about this. And then I do want to talk about, Mindful Kids, the actual company name and how our objectives, but I want to say one thing. This past weekend, I had a friend of mine come over with her daughter and son, and they just graduated from high school. And so they're applying for a university here in the city. And, so the daughter has been, they both have to write an essay. Anyway, so she had asked me, the mother, if I could mentor her and help her out. And I said, sure, I can try. So anyway, so I said, just tell her to bring what it is, they're asking of her of, and then I can go from there, Oh my goodness. And I don't know this family very well. I just recently have gotten to really know them. And I decided I'm going to take an interest in getting to know this family better because the mother is a single mom and she's young and she's working, a lot. And anyway, and her children are so sweet, so sweet. I went to their graduation and I went to the graduation party in their home. And anyway, so I said, okay, go ahead and read to me what if you would. She says, oh, I'll read it to you. Oh my goodness. I was like, after like the second line, I'm like, oh my God, what? Her creativity in her writing, the language, and and it was like, and then her mother says to me, yeah, I haven't told you, she is a reader. She reads and reads and reads. I'm always taking her to the bookstore or the library because she's always reading. There you go. So this is where they get their creativity. And so her passion is reading, and it transfers over naturally into her writing. And I was like mind blown at what kids, again, you expose them, you encourage them, and you find the tools for them to excel in it, to find that passion and to develop it more so. Definitely.
Teaching and showing them that they're way more than just A's and B's or, the academics. Like it's way more about, there's way more to you than academics. I know I used to talk about how like you'll ask a kid how they're doing and they'll be like, well, I'm an A student or I'm a B student. And it's like, no, but I asked you how you're doing. I didn't mean in school. Like I'm just talking about you. But it's like they equate that to them.
Yeah, your well-being. How are you?
Yes. How are you? What are you into? What do you like? And you'd be surprised, like by 10th, 11th, 12th grade, kids forget what they're into. Like, they forget what they used to like or what they used to thrive in or what they used to be passionate about because they've been so focused on the standardized testing, the grades, just school in general, that they forgot them already. And it's wild and it's sad because, once 12th grade hits, like, oh, okay, well, now I got to graduate and make something of myself. Like I gotta, eventually pay bills. So it's a drain. And so I love what you all are doing. How do we come up with the name Mindful Kids?
You want me to go ahead, Marissa, or you want to start and then I can continue? Because you're the one that came up with it.
So, I mean, when we talked about how we wanted Mindful Kids to, what we wanted it to represent and what we wanted parents and children, when they heard Mindful Kids, what does that mean? And for us, it was really about, exactly what we've talked about, just exposure and being just present and mindful about, just like you said, the children, they lose sight of who they are. We do that as parents, as adults. I mean, how many times have you been in a meeting and they say, tell me about yourself? Oh, well, I work here and I have a child, and I will tell, it's never really goes into detail about your passions or what you love. And so, being mindful to us was really important about, making sure it was important for others to know, stay present, be mindful about your intentions, what you want to do, what you want to do, and where you want to go with that. You may not know the exact end goal, but every day is one step. One step is progress. And so just being mindful about your intentions, being mindful about, how you want to progress, and if it's not the right thing for you, pivot and just be mindful about what you're going to do next. And so, of course, our passion is children. So we want it to be a focal point for children to be mindful at an early age, and just know that there's resources out there for them.
Very good. Yes. So I jotted down some notes before, and I thought, well, I'm going to use my notes here. Right. So it's important for everybody, children to adults, that we are mindful as she said, in the present, and be mindful that in the present will lead you to tomorrow, right? And how you use that is what ends up with your end goal. So mindfully define your goal. What is your goal? Discover your goal and be mindful about that. Next, define your goal and then mindfully strategize. And that takes time, thought. Next, when you strategize, then how will you participate? So this is a good little activity for parents to use with their children, right? Okay, so how do you want to participate in learning how to do fencing, how to fence, Well, I've already looked it up, Mom, and I know exactly where you can take me, Mom. So the child, again, has mindfully, planned it. Now let's execute it, right? And that's where the parent comes in. So then participation in a group setting, and then there's self-participation, where the child, again, if they're self-motivated, then they're going to practice this skill on their own without anybody telling them, reminding them. Why? Because it's their passion. They enjoy it. They like it. And it's like you told me, your children just want to go outside and play the violin. And you're not telling them go outside and play the violin. It's on their own. So again, it's self-motivation, I get it, Mom. Self-participation. Very important. I learned that the hard way too, right? With my own children, I wanted them to do this. And so again, I think it's okay for a parent to say, well, you know what? I know that you really are not into painting, but how do you know you really aren't into it unless you try it? So again, expose them to 1-2 times, and they'll admit, oh, you know what? I do like it after all, Mom or Dad, So you have to kind of like pique, right, their interest and find their way. And so that's another way that we as parents, again, it's our responsibility to guide our children, 100%. So then, of course, once they are participating, whether it's in a group setting or self-participation, then they find out, oh, this is a little bit challenging. Do I really want to do this? Do I really want to work at it? This is a lot of work. But if they're passionate enough, they will, right? So again, they challenge themselves. And that's a good thing. We all should have a drive to push ourselves a little bit more until we achieve that goal. But that's only going to happen if it's a passion of yours. Okay.
Well, and even for those two with passions, I think it's just even step one, just the exposure. Because some children, they don't know what their passion is. And so, a parent can just take them to the facility of where we have, the exposure of different classes on different days or whatnot. And that child may may, find that that's something that they enjoy. And then they, like you said, just carry on from there with what they're enjoying. But just step one is just that exposure, finding, my son wasn't really into, at first, he wasn't sure about jujitsu, but he went, and man, looking at him on that screen, because we have to watch from another room, on a TV, the video, but it was like, he's done this before. This is like natural for him. But had we never taken him there, he was like, well, I don't know. I don't know if I want to, like, wrestle or grapple, or, he didn't want to hurt anyone. And he also didn't, he's very kind-hearted. So, but also he's tough. So we were like, we just want you to get some foundational skills. My husband, grew up with foundation in karate. So karate background, so mixed martial arts. So he wanted to give him that too. So just taking him into the one class, we weren't even sure if he was it was like a trial class. And he has been there, ever since. And he was a natural. He loves it. He would have never known had we not just taken him for that first step. So
I have to admit, when you told me you were going to put him in jiu-jitsu, I was worried. I'm like, oh, I hope my baby nephew, he's my baby nephew.
Oh, you and me both. But, that's me, mom, protective parent. But, I also have to take a step back and say, you know what, dad has an important role too. And that's to give him those foundational skills and build those skills that that he's better at nourishing, because that's their bond too. So I had to really, take a step back and just let it happen and just like pray about it. And it worked out. So yeah, it's good. I'm glad it's worked out for the best. But I did have to just let that fall into its own place.
You're very brave. I admire you. I respect you for that and admire you tremendously for that. Honestly,
Yeah, I mean, the first
it's
class,
important to not put our fears on our kids, and that's what a lot of parents have to really work at. Because a lot of times it is us saying, "Oh no, I don't want you to get hurt," or "I don't want you, like, I see this happening," or this. It's like, no, mom, just let it happen. Like, let it happen.
That is so true. That is so true. So true.
Yeah, I mean, that first class, I was front row, right in front of the screen. Like, can I see him? I'm like looking really, and I'm like, okay, he's still okay, And now I've backed off, but it just that unknown is always but hey, it worked out. So had it not worked out, we would have found him something else. But we just want to make sure that he always has that opportunity. He looks forward to it twice a week. So he'll be participating in tournaments, I'm sure. And it'll be a new experience.
Throws me back a little bit into my middle daughter, extremely active, always challenged me as a mother. And she wanted to be a cheerleader right in middle school. So she tried out for it. And of course she got it. And then she was selected to be the flyer.
The one that's thrown up and stuff.
She's a very tiny person, so she was easily selected for that. And I would go to the games and I would literally do this every time they throw her up. I couldn't watch it. I was terrified. So I was like this, and then I do a little bit like that and I do like that again, And I just prayed every time that they would catch her, because it's been known, right? So again, I know how you feel about the jiu-jitsu, and when you told me, I was like, I don't want him to get hurt. But no, he's got it.
Indeed. Yeah. I know when the girls are at the park, my youngest, she's 8, and she is very acrobatic. She likes to climb on things. She likes to do flips, everything else. And when I tell you, parents be looking at her like, oh my gosh. And I tell them, don't make eye contact. Just don't watch. Like, they're like, like, I don't want you to hurt. Like, just don't watch her. Just don't watch her. Let her do her thing. Because I put into her, trust your body. Trust your body. Know what you can and cannot do, and do that. But don't, overexert. But I try not to watch her a lot of the times, because it is like a lot of like, wait a minute, why are you doing that? Like, we're not going to the hospital. Look, we're not going to the hospital.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so we can relate to this. So, and then, okay, and here, this fits very well. So again, discover our weakness That's really important. So, what is my weakness? Watching children do activities that to me are hurtful, right? That's a weakness of mine. So, I have to build up the strength, to encounter that challenge. That's a challenge for me, right? We all have challenges, all of us. I don't care how old we are or young. So, again, children to discover their weakness, either is to self-discover. I'm scared to do that, mom. Well, how about you try it? I'm going to be right there. I promise. If anything happens, I'm going to be right there to pick you up. And with that, they build the courage. So again, discovering your own weaknesses so that you can then say, okay, I'm going to tackle this, and I'm going to get over this fear, this weakness. That's so important to foster that into our children, to provide the avenue, the environment, to build them up, and so that also is really important. And you do it mindfully. You don't just throw them in there, just get over there and do it. No, you have to build them into it, right? Being mindful so that they're mindful about what it is they're going to do. And through that, they discover their strengths. And then they master their goal. When they have mindfully set themselves up to learn jujitsu, okay, what is your end goal in that? And so there are steps to do that, right? So then they create their strength, they build up their strength, to reach their goal. And they're at some, then you end up, oh yeah, I can do this, How awesome is that for a child or anyone to feel like, wow, I did, that's like huge. That's huge for anybody, right? I can literally do this, and I did it.
Yeah, and then it builds their confidence. So, just positive things all around, just starting with that one step, the exposure.
Yes, exposure is everything, because how do you know unless you go, you do it. And I think parents have to recognize that. I know I had a conversation with some comic book creators. My microphone is going to get tested today. Are you noise canceling, or you're noise canceling? But I have parents that have created a comic book. So the dad's an artist, and that's like a passion of his. And he said with his daughter seeing that passion and seeing him actually hone in on that passion, it encouraged her to find what she was passionate in and do her own creative thing also. So that's exposure also, like letting your kids see you be passionate about something, letting them see you like things. That goes a long way.
Very, very, very important. Role modeling.
Yes.
What it is. And so, okay, so through all of this, self-discovery, finding your passion, mindfully setting your goals, working on your goals, through all of that in the process that you're involved in that particular class, whatever it may be, you're learning to problem solve. And you're problem solving, you're in your own skill. And through that, you discover you can create, right? And you work on that creativity, and actually you don't have to work on it because it'll just come. It just comes. Because again, oh, wow, I really like this. And then you learn more and more about yourself, and you're creating along the way. So again, it's all about providing the venue, providing the way, providing the path for your child. It is our responsibility as parents. I will die saying that. We decide to have children. It is our responsibility to nurture them, to help them find their own, to discover what is it that they really want to do in their life. And sometimes, and we have to be mindful, that to back off when your child has tried it. Mom, I don't want this. I don't like it. And when they do that, then you just have to back off and continue on another, find something else, look for something else that they would want to do. So that's my spiel on mindfulness on that toward enrichment classes, right?
Yes, nice. And you all provide classes not just for schools, but you also do the homeschool community. Like you say, you will bring the instructor to them,
yes,
and they will teach whatever it is. How long are these classes?
Well, they're normally an hour,
okay,
once a week, but again, as Marissa said earlier, we can customize. We want to provide what the group wants. And again, very important, we provide a survey for the parents and a survey for the children as well, so that we hear from both sides. Very, very important, So again, it all depends on what the co-op group would want, okay, and how often they want it.
Okay, cool. And y'all are serviced in the greater Houston area, right? Texas.
And well, we could do it. We could do it anywhere, honestly.
Okay. So anywhere in Texas or anywhere in general?
Well, I would say in Texas, because we would be able. I'd like to meet the people, the individuals, not just on Zoom, right? But I'd be willing to. We'd be willing to drive, to have a meeting with a nice, effective co-op group that would be very interested in getting mindful kids to come to them. We're open. We're open. Yeah, definitely.
Nice.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else you would like to add about mindful kids? Mindful kid.
No, I mean, it's we just want to, just reiterate that our program, it's customizable to what your individual needs are for your family, your group, or even larger groups, co-ops it's all included in our website as to a variety of classes that we can offer. If you have ideas of different classes that you don't see noted, that's something that we can research for you to find the right fit. All of the instructors are, background checked and well-versed in their area of expertise. We provide all of the tools on our website for registration. We organize the enrollment, the scheduling. So yeah, I mean, we are open to whatever those needs are. If there's something that we've missed that you're interested in, you just let us know and we just add that into our program for what might be fitting for you.
So I want to add to all of that, just to kind of pique parents' interest and children's interest, kinds of classes as mentioned earlier, but I'm going to add some more in here. So the sciences, so there's STEM classes. We work with a robotics company that offers wonderful stuff. Science, technology, engineering, mathematics, STEM. We also have another company that offers all of that, but in addition, is ready and ready to go and setting up experiments, like you're in a science lab. So it's like a portable science lab to go, and they do actual experiments. And then there's the arts, the visual, the painting, the sculpture, the drawing, also. And then there is the performing arts, which are the theater arts, musical arts, theater. And then there's the piano, the guitar, the saxophone, whatever instrument, that the co-op would want to have their children introduced to. And then there's the voice. We can send somebody to teach some voice lessons, either group voice lessons, create a choir within the co-op. That would be really cool. And then we have, we could bring cooking if the area wherever the co-op meets has the facility for that. We could bring somebody who would want to teach cooking. Etiquette classes. Oh my gosh. If there's anything that's so needed today is etiquette. I was even in etiquette class that my father paid for. Sent me to etiquette class, and in that class I learned how to wear my clothes, how to walk, how to wear my makeup, etc. I was in 5th grade learning these things through the 6th and 7th grade, I believe it was. And there's sewing, and so there's sports. There's the fun flag football, the basketball, the pickleball. That's a big thing. Baseball, tennis, putt. We could schedule something where they could go to a place, where they have putt, and we could have an instructor meet them there to teach them putt with the parents there. So anyway, and so my whole point is it's like open, right? Like open. So we can always, it's about collaborating and working together. Yeah.
Nice.
Okay.
That's amazing. My girls will love to do all of that stuff. Like, there's nothing that they really don't say, and they love pickleball. We actually have a pickleball set in the RV with us,
Oh,
and they bring it out, and
nice.
they've taught a family, and where were we just at? Milwaukee. They had a mom and a daughter playing, and then in Detroit, they had a mom and a daughter playing.
Get
So,
at, that is so
yeah.
cool. I
No, a
love
mom
it.
and her two sons were playing. A mom and two sons in Detroit. But yeah, they'll bring the pickleball set out. If there's enough grass in the area,
Wow.
not necessarily at a pickleball court or a tennis court. They just make their own version. But that's their thing though. So that's awesome though. I really love that you all are making sure that kids are experiencing life in
Yes,
general
yes.
and just experiencing so many different activities so that they can hone in on their passion and learn them. It's very important. So thank y'all for what y'all are doing. Thank you for what you have created. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you for
And
thinking us. You're welcome.
of course, I have two more questions, of course. With all the talk of kids and all the things that we do to pour out into them. And Marissa, you made a great point earlier when you said, like, you'll have a meeting and they ask you about yourself and you don't remember. It was like, oh, it's me, huh? I have a self. I am a person. What do you do to self-care? How do you take care of yourself while you all are pouring out and ensuring that everyone else is supported? What are you doing to support you?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. It's, life is so busy. So, I mean, you're always doing something, helping someone. But I think for me, I'm the first one that's awake in my house. I try to take some time for myself before work and just kind of, reflect on my plans for the day, what I need to do. And I don't know that I would call it meditation, but just kind of like, getting ready for the day and reflecting and I pray. I do attend church and I try to stay, I try to go to the gym when I can, a couple of times a week just to stay, get some of that anxious energy out and just kind of take care of my own body and feel refreshed. And we like to travel and do things with family when we can, and just try to do things out of the norm. And don't forget about alone time too. I know it's really difficult for parents, but just taking that, even if it's just a few minutes, just to listen to your own thoughts, because I think a lot of times in nowadays, right, there's always a tablet on or a TV on or a dog barking or a need for someone else. But just remember to take those few minutes for yourself and listen to your own thoughts too. Don't forget who you are.
Right. And Miss Sylvia, what about you? How are you taking care of you and keeping that smile on your face?
Thank you.
Mhm.
Well, I wake up in the mornings and I'm not a very early morning person. But the first thing I do is I get up, I get myself a little dressed up here. That's for me self-care to make sure that I feel good about myself, right? About how I look, because I never know, I may have to go somewhere all of a sudden or, something like that. But oh my God, after I'm ready, then I have my coffee. I have to have my coffee. And that is my time where I reflect. I put on my classical music and I'm just praying, reflecting, thinking my day or even for tomorrow. And I love coffee. So I try all different kinds of coffees. And I think I have recently found what I really enjoy, which are pour overs. I love the pour over coffee. Oh my gosh, I'm in love with that. So that's a romantic thing for me, coffee. That's my self-care with coffee. I also enjoy traveling. And I don't travel, like every day or anything like that, because I think that would get very tiring. But when I do travel, I go all the way. I enjoy it. I have fun. I will meet up with a friend wherever we're going to travel to. We don't travel together. It might be somebody from not that lives around Houston, where I live, but anywhere. And we just meet at that point and we just have a great 7, 10 days of wonderful fun. So traveling to me is great because it expands you, right? And you expose yourself to different areas, etc. So that's another one. I like to walk, and I need to do more of it, And then at one point, I got really into yoga, and I just loved it, self care all the way. And so just yesterday, I was like, okay, I need to get back into yoga, and so I'm going to start that already. And now cooking to me is so therapeutic. It's just like, wow, it's a full escape for me. And I put on my classical music, and and I like to try different recipes. And so when I do invite somebody over, I've made this before and it was wonderful. And I'll, change because I started with a basic recipe or whatever that recipe calls, and then I add on to it, but cooking is to me just so therapeutic. It's my escape. I think that's probably that and coffee together. Those two things I escape from everything and everybody. So yeah, that's what I do for self-care. Thank you for asking. Important question.
Of course, of course. You lost me at the cooking though, because I like that. I like to eat. I do that very well. But the cooking, I gotta try to do that. Necessity. I cook because of necessity, but yeah,
Well, you know
no.
what I've learned? I've learned that it's so important to have, and some people, my brother says, no, I don't want any more gadgets in my kitchen. He's so cute. I guess I'm going to call them gadgets. I have tools that make the cooking fun. If I'm going to bake a cherry pie, I have a cherry pitter, and I use a lot of garlic. I mean, if the recipe calls whatever for garlic, I will triple it, quadruple the amount of garlic. Well, I have a garlic press, So growing up poor, these things didn't exist, right? And so I buy gadgets to make my cooking fun. So that's where I have found the pleasure. I think that's what really has helped me to even cook more. Since I
Girl, my little sister, when I tell you she's the most non-cookingest person, but she has every type of utensil, gadget, supply, every type, anything you could think of, she has it, but she doesn't even cook. Like I go to her house all the time and I'm just like, why do you have all this stuff?
Well, yeah, yeah. If you're gonna have that, then you would, yeah, no.
But you love it there, Sylvia. I'm telling you, she has everything. She got all kind of crushers and like she has a lot of things.
It's
But
like the idea of like knowing that you might want to do it
one
one
day.
day, right? Like, you like when you look on social media, you're scrolling, you're like, oh, that recipe looks so good and so easy.
And she
I'll
does
look at
that. She
it,
does that.
and then I'll never look at it again and then I go in there buried looking for it. If I do in a year, I'm like, I know I saved it. And I probably have hundreds of recipes, but never, I've cooked like 4 of them probably, but she has them just in
Exactly.
case. I mean, I get it.
Yes,
Oh my
girl. Oh
God.
my
It's so much. I
gosh.
mean, I even like to cook, and I have a couple of times, somebody wants to hang out. I go, how about we go to your house? I say, and let's cook. Let's cook. I go, okay, I'll cook. I'll take care of everything. And that is
You
so
can come to
much
my house
fun.
and cook too, Sylvia.
Huh?
You come up, you can come to my house and cook too.
Okay,
Like,
okay.
It's
I
great.
really
Yeah, she's
do.
a
I love
great
to do
cook.
that. I love to go to someone's home and I ask before, okay, do you have this? Do you have that? Do you have that? If they don't have it, I take it all, and yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's just cooking is just, it's like a culture.
I love it.
Brings people together,
Yeah.
the guests that I had Saturday evening, they're like, you like to cook, don't you? I said, oh yeah, So the food was delicious to them, obviously, if they, they're, and of course it was very nice, But yeah, yeah.
All right, ladies. 3 things you would like to leave our listeners with. If they don't hear anything else, hear this before you go.
Marissa?
Um, so I would say the first thing I think before you can really, like an airplane, put your oxygen mask on first so that you can help others. I think it's really important to prioritize your own well-being and give yourself grace, right? Because we're all still just trying to figure it out. So just prioritize your own well-being, take care of yourself. You can't pour from an empty cup. Um, and just give yourself grace for when hiccups do happen because they are going to happen. Seek support from your community because we're not alone. Sometimes it might feel like it, but there are resources out there for you. You don't have to do everything alone. And, Mindful Kids is here to help, facilitate and organize your after school enrichment, and, customize it to what your needs are. And so we can take that one thing off your plate and just seeking support from the community. We're a community resource. And I think third, just encourage and encourage new experiences for your children, something that they're maybe unsure of. Just, try to be supportive of what they might want to explore because you never know, they could be the next, award-winning actor or musician or cook, just
Right.
support whatever their ambition might be just by that exposure.
Those are great. Those are great. What you guys, Sylvia?
Okay. Take an inventory of your co-op's children's interest. So pique their brain, right? And help them to discover we would love to have a robotics class here, mom, dad. We would love to have pickleball come to us, So invest some time, to help your children as a group so that you have a good, solid little group that would want to have a class or two or three. We'd love classes every day, So that's first I would like to see happen in any family. Next, if you're really interested as a co-op, reach out to Mindful Kids. Okay. Email address is mindfulkidstext@gmail.com. And schedule a meeting with us. And that's a start to getting Mindful Kids to participate in your co-op's interest. So those are the three things I wanted to leave behind. Okay.
Yep, and it's mindfulkidstx.com.
Yes.
Nice. Thank you. And they'll be available in the description.
Good.
Parents, listen, listen, listen. Exposure. I think it's been said a lot during this conversation. Make sure your kids are aware of all the things that are available to them to experience and to get to know themselves or further their passions that they already have or bring them out of them. But either way, know that there are definitely resources out here available to you. Check in with Mindful Kids if you are in the Texas area and let them help you build out that co-op. If you're a new co-op and looking for some activities, looking for some enrichment ideas, check them out so they can help you grow and provide different activities for your kids and the families that you provide for. Yeah, it's not meant to be done alone. So check in with your support systems because they are everywhere. And there are really some awesome people that are mission to make sure that our kids reach their highest and greatest selves. So, you know what I'm going to say? Homeschool your kids.